All right, good morning. And we will get started. We are going to start lying down in Supta Baddha Konasana. So it will be soles of the feet together, knees out to the side, but not lying on a block, lying flat. And if you feel a strong desire to have that block under the upper back, go ahead and put it there. Oh, oh, coming down onto our mat. And then, ooh, that's right. Getting in a hurry to get down to the mat this morning. So maybe with that Baddha Konasana, starting sitting, maybe doing a little flying, getting those hip joints warmed up. And then making your way down to the floor. Ah. And if you need a little support under the knees, you could slide the blocks under the knees, or maybe just the hands there. Sometimes you don't even need that much support. Just the hands touching those outer thighs. That's enough to let the body feel like it has some support and it can soften and let go a little bit. And then you may find you can just ease your way into this. And getting yourself settled in with whatever additional shifting and squinging you need. Inhaling down into the lower belly, exhale, pouring out the inner thighs, out the knees. Gentle feeling of drawing up through the abdominal muscles, through the core, and out the top of the head. Also think of pulling your hip bones a little up towards your head as the sitting bones reach toward the heels, reach toward the opposite wall. So we're not doing lots of intense isolated muscle work, just a little bit, very subtly, working on more of an energetic level at the moment. And as your body has become more settled in, feeling the breath a little more, noticing anything else there is to notice that you brought with you here to the mat this morning. And just being willing to accept what has arrived here with you. Maybe some of it you want to let go of. Maybe some of it you want to deepen into a little bit more. And then letting that conscious awareness of all of that go. And just bringing your attention back to the body and the breath in this moment. And we'll interlock the fingers, turning the palms up to the ceiling. Stretching the arms up overhead and then sliding the legs out to straight. Long reach from the feet to the hands. And then we'll release the hands. And let's pull those knees back in, rounding into a little ball. And then really rounding, feeling like you're trying to scoop the tailbone up, draw the lower ribs down toward the belly, and rolling that ball. So if it's all right for your spine to roll up and down, rolling up and down, you can just do a little gentle rolliness there on the floor. And we'll finish with this rolling in the next few breaths. All right, one or two more. I love this rolling. And then there we are. We'll slide the legs out to straight and coming forward and over. Breathing into the back of the legs, into the back of the body. Doesn't have to be the biggest, best forward bend ever. Just getting a little bit of opening on the back of the knees, a little length out in the lower back, a little fold in those hip joints. And then coming up, and we will sit into Sukhasana with the crossed legs. Giving a little lengthen up with the arms, feeling space coming between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. There's a little shifting and squinching still needed. Oh, and then there we are, letting the hands rest on the knees. Inhale and exhale, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, softening and closing your eyes. Bringing your attention even more inside yourself. Letting the breath balance the effort and ease in your body. Having as long and spacious and extended a spine as you can without it being a strain. And then from that supported center, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. And then we'll open the eyes, reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. We'll breathe both arms up, shoulder blades on the upper back, and breathing them down. And then let's side bend. Let's bring the right arm up and over to the left. And then we'll come on to the diagonal left. Big inhale and exhale, pulling down on the diagonal left. Still a long reach on the right side of the body. And then walking hands to the front, taking a few breaths here. Coming up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae, back up on top of the sitting bones. We will change the cross of the legs. And then side bending to the other side, breathing up through the left arm, up and over to the right. And a big inhale and exhale, pulling down onto the right diagonal, stretching long through the left side. And then walking hands around to the center. Coming up, uncurling the spine back up on top of the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale. And let's come up and downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then here we are in the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. And we'll lengthen forward to the plank, stretching long and flat against the ceiling. So we're going to be coming back up to downward facing dog. If you need a break for your wrists or hands, you can make your way to downward facing dog through a child's pose. All right, and then coming back up to downward facing dog. Let's do two more planks forward and back up, lengthening out and holding 3, 2. Another option would be the kneeling plank and 1, and then back up to downward facing dog. And let's do that once more, coming forward to the plank. I'm breathing 3, 2, and 1. Back up to downward facing dog. All right, we're going to do one more plank and then we'll bring our knees to the floor. Coming forward to that plank. Keeping all the plank strength as we set the knees down. Taking your weight back toward the knees a little off the wrist. Maybe even giving a lift up at the base of the wrist for a moment. A couple cats and cows. Just like 4 or 5. And then we will Asana Namaskar, knees, chest, chin to the floor. Hinging up and back, pulling the shoulders forward, lowering the upper chest. Lift those hips a little more and sliding up into the small cobra. And lightening up on the wrist, making the back muscles work more. And we'll lengthen down. 3 more small cobras. Lifting up, maybe not even using the hands at all. Coming down. Twice more. And then we will make our way back up to downward facing dog. And looking between the hands to jump or walk your way up to the hands, into the forward bend at the front of the mat. Maybe using a block under the hands. And then we'll concave back halfway up, reaching the collarbones forward and up, reaching out and over, folding back into the forward bend, really letting go of the head and the neck, letting those hang. Couple more breaths here. And then we'll make our way up to standing, extending or rolling, or carrying yourself up with strength into a front body line. And arms down, long through the top of the head. We'll circle the shoulders, 3, 2, and 1. Other direction, 1, 2, 3. One more front to the back. Interlocking the fingers, squeeze the upper arms together, drop the shoulders, lifting up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin, and coming forward and over, pressing away through the backs of the hands. I'm releasing the hands and a little concave back. Inhale out, exhale, folding over. Stepping back with the left leg into the long low lunge, pausing a moment, doing that plank along your left side, top of the head out and the left heel long. And then easing that left knee down to the floor. We're going to stay here with our hands on the floor or maybe on some blocks and feel like you're dragging the front heel back. Pressing the tailbone forward, stretching into the front of the left hip. And then we'll straighten that left leg up and stepping forward. Into the concave back. Folding over. Stepping back with the right leg. Pausing here, a few breaths in the low lunge, long line from the top of the head out, the right heel. And bring that right knee down. And staying here with the hands on the floor so you can really stretch into the front of the right hip. Feeling like you're dragging your left heel back. And we'll straighten up the right leg and stepping forward. Into the concave back, folding over. Coming back up to standing, big front body yawn. I'm going to press the arms down long through the top of the head. And we'll interlock the fingers again, maybe changing the cross of the fingers back there, squeezing the upper arm, shoulders down, lifting up the front of the body, making lots of space, and then folding over, reaching out long and over. I'm releasing the hands. And a concave back again and folding over. And we'll make our way back to downward facing dog through the vinyasa or not. Any version of that vinyasa. And then here we all are, downward facing dog. Let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the left. Bending the right knee dog at the high fire hydrants. And through to the lunge. And we'll bring that left knee down, and let's come all the way up and then Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. And that circle of breath. And then letting the arms follow that circle of breath all the way around, back up overhead. And namaste in front. And then reaching inside, we're going to turn to the wide leg forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana, facing the horizontal center of your mat, or horizontal side of your mat. Maybe using the block under the hands here. And actively engaging with the legs, lengthening up, pulling those kneecaps up with the thighs, a little feeling of pressing the legs wide. And we'll rotate the feet out and bend the knees coming into the elephant rider. Feet are on the diagonal now. We're stretching out the inner thighs, pressing the knees back. And let's come up to the three-pointed star, keeping that outer rotation, calming up, straightening the legs, bringing the hands together up overhead. Rotating those thigh bones into the hip joints. We'll press the arms to parallel, turning the feet to parallel. So we're going to go toward the back of the mat, and I'm not being the right-left mirror. I'm doing my real right and left. As we rotate our left leg out 90 degrees toward the back of the mat. And then keeping the legs straight, let's bring that left arm up and away and a side bend to the right toward the front of the mat. And into the triangle, Trikonasana, just whatever triangle is available right now. Let's see if there's a little more. Reaching up a little more through the right side out the fingertips. Reaching the top of the head a little more toward the back of the mat. And then we're going to the warrior two, feeling your left knee and your right hand connected as we bend the left knee, which pulls forward, right arm pulls back. And we're in the warrior two. Lift in and up through the abdominal muscle. We'll straighten up that left leg, turning the feet back to parallel. If you want to, bringing the arms down for a moment. And then we'll expand the arms out, and we're going to rotate the right leg out 90 degrees toward the front of the mat. Keeping the legs straight or as straight as you can. As we breathe up through the right side out the fingertips, side bending away from the right. And into the triangle, hinging over, arriving where you arrive. And then deepening a little more, reaching up through the left side, a little longer through the top of the head. And then we'll head to the warrior two, connecting your left hand to your right knee as you bend the right knee pulls forward, left arm pulls back into the warrior number two. Make sure we're not doing lazy core here, pulling the abdominal muscles a little in and up, feeling the tailbone and sitting bones reaching straight down for the floor. We'll straighten that right leg up. Turning the feet to parallel. And a big lift up, front body on here with the wide legs. And coming forward and walking the hands forward. However far forward you can walk the hands while still keeping the heels on the floor and pressing the hips back. Kind of like a very strange downward facing dog. And then we're gonna walk the hands back and then turning the fingertips to face behind you, walking the hands through the legs and in the other direction, however far they'll go. Once you walk those hands out, finding where are your hips over your feet. And then bringing the hands back to the center. Deep breath. And we will turn to our right lunge, front of the mat where we came from ever so long ago. Stepping back to the plank, through the Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then taking 3 deep breaths here in downward facing dog, or maybe in child's pose. And 3, 2, and 1. And then back up, downward facing dog. And we will go around to the left. Let's lift the left leg. Bending the right, left knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. I will bring the right knee down, coming up in Vinyasa, the kneeling lunge. Breathing those arms all the way around and back up overhead. And namaste in front. And then reaching inside, turning to the wide leg forward bend again. And then into the elephant rider, rotating the feet out, toes go out, heels come in, however you want to think about it, or maybe a combination of both. And really what's happening though is we're rotating our thigh bone in the hip joint as we press the knees out over the feet. Taking a few breaths. And then 3-pointed star. Up, spiraling up from the inner arch, up the inner shin, around the thigh into the sitting bones, arms coming up overhead. And pressing the arms out to parallel, turning the feet to parallel. Deep breath. All right, right leg back of the mat first, rotating that right leg out 90 degrees, straightening up the right leg, and then reaching all the way up the right side. Can you connect from the toes to the fingertips as we side bend away, up and over. And then hinging out into the triangle trikonasana. Maybe if you want taking this up into Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon, I'm going to stay here in the triangle. But if you want to go up in the balance in the tipped over triangle half moon, go ahead. And here we go to the warrior two, connecting the left hand and that right inner knee, pulling back, pulling forward. Straighten up the right leg, turning the feet to parallel, and bringing the arms down for a couple breaths. All right, expanding those arms out again, and rotating the left leg out, straightening the leg, lengthening up through the top of the head as we bring that left arm up, all the way from the left toes to the left fingertips and over. And out into the triangle. If you want to take this triangle up into Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon, doing that. Here we go to the warrior two, right hand and left knee, pulling away. Sitting bones reach for the floor, top of the head reaches for the seat. Pull straighten up the left leg, turning the feet to parallel. Big front body yawn up. And coming forward and then let's walk our hands forward. So this is the one usually where we can walk out so far that our heels might start to come up. And then you press the heels back down, pull the hips back. If you have to drag your hands back a little as well, getting yourself back over your feet. And pressing the hands down into the floor. Feeling those upper arms coming in toward the ears and rotating up to the ceiling. And then we'll walk the hands back and going the other way as far as you can get. Might not be very far. We turn our fingertips to face back and walking those hands back. Let's see if we can really engage with the arms, pressing those hands down into the floor, pressing the shoulder blades up toward the sitting bones. And here the arms are rotating the other way. There's a little draw together of the upper arms, but now it's the outer upper arm going up to the ceiling, rolling up to the ceiling more than the inner. And then bringing the hands back to the center. And before we go back to our left lunge, we're going to take a little detour and do some other things. We're going to walk around to the right lunge toward the back of the mat. And then walking the right foot a little to the left. And we'll Matsyendrasana, pulling the left knee under. Coming to sit in Matsyendrasana, facing what's probably the back of the mat with our right leg crossed over. Inhale and exhale, really enjoying this wrapping in of the legs, this bending of the knees. Big contrast to what we were just doing. And then we will twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space, exhale and twist. Coming back to the center, let's take a twist to the left toward the open side. And we will come around, sort of untwisting, getting back up on your right foot, ever so gracefully, putting your left foot back toward the front of the mat. Then we come back into the forward bend. However we got there. Couple breaths here. And then we'll turn toward the left lunge at the front of the mat. And walk that left foot a little to the right, bringing the right knee under, coming into Matsyendrasana with the left leg crossed. Holding in, maybe a little active squeezing in for a moment. And then we will twist to the left. Inhale, lots of space, exhale, and twist. And to the center, twisting to the right toward the open side. And then we'll keep going, untwisting, getting up on that left foot, letting the right leg out to the back of the mat. Here we are back in the forward bend. And we'll turn to the left lunge again, our front of the mat where we came from ever so long ago. Stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa and inversion, downward facing dog. There we are, downward facing dog, taking 3 deep breaths. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And let's slide forward onto our stomach, into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the sides of the body, center line lengthening forward. Reaching back through the legs. Calming down. Interlocking the fingers behind, rolling the shoulders out, squeeze those upper arms together, and we will lift up in Salabhasana, reaching through the legs and lengthening up. Really try to keep the legs straight. And then still with the interlocked fingers, let's bend the knees, really bend them all the way in, trying to keep the thighs as light as you can on the floor. They'll probably go down to the floor. And then extending the legs out to straight again. Hover a moment. Coming down. All right, let's do that once more. And getting recentered with your Sphinx. And we will interlock the fingers, rolling the shoulders out. Lengthen to lift in Salabhasana. All right, and let's bend the legs, pulling those heels toward you. And then pressing them away. Feet go down, but try to press the thighs up. Letting go. And coming up into an indulgent cobra for a few breaths. Good place for squinching. And let's make our way back up to downward facing dog. And we will head for the pigeon. So we'll fly to the pigeon, then you can come to the pigeon on all fours if you would rather. All right, so flyers, here we are, downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And then right knee to the right elbow and into the pigeon. So before we do our high pigeon cobra action, maybe coming forward into the sleeping pigeon for a few breaths. So this is always an option. Sometimes doing the sleeping pigeon first can get you a little more settled into the stretch. And then like we're coming up in a cobra, coming back up, sides, back, center line forward, and up into the high pigeon, the cobra action. Up the front, down the back. And then coming forward. Back into the sleeping pigeon. Letting go a little more. And coming up. And we'll slide that right leg back next to the left into the Sphinx for a moment. Evening out the two sides. And picking yourself up, pulling back into child's pose. Deep breath. And expanding back up to downward facing dog. And then we'll go on the left. Lifting the left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And flying to the pigeon. Left knee to the left elbow. And coming forward into the sleeping pigeon for a few breaths. And up sides, back, center line forward, coming up very deliberately. And here we are in the high pigeon, the cobra action. And coming forward and over, back to the sleeping pigeon. And coming up. And we'll slide that left leg back and into the Sphinx. Evening out those two sides, two back legs for the pigeon pose. Maybe lifting the elbows off the floor, turning or turning it into the indulgent cobra. You can move the hands if you want. And coming down, and we'll peel ourselves back into child's pose. And coming up to make our way down and into Shavasana. So we have our famous 1 minute Shavasana, or longer if you have more time. Inhale and exhale, letting go. Feeling the wave of the breath. Letting time dissolve into that wave of the breath. And then breathing back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. And knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with a long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.